Okay, so this is the next video in our continuation of our FastAPI series. So let me activate my virtual environment. Okay, so environment has been activated. Let me start my app. It will take few time. So application has been started. So let me browse it. So this is application look like it has some bugs like the distortion of these items, and there are many other bugs like some boundary condition or not handled properly, but we will fix that later on. First we try to implement all the functionalities. So in the last video we have implemented this functionality search box, and so if I just search dummy and I am able to see the dummy item. If I search item, I am able to see like item 1, item 2, item 3. So wherever the keyword is found, it will search that item, but I am not getting the suggestions. So if I click on the home button and if I write item, I am not getting the suggestions here. Autocomplete suggestions, right? So we will see how to implement that feature as well. Generally in the website we see once we start typing few things, automatically we get the autocomplete suggestions, right? But we are not getting the autocomplete suggestion from the database. So we will use the Jquery, which is a kind of a JavaScript module only, right? So what we have actually to do is, once the user will type anything into this, so let's suppose user type item into the this box, automatically as soon as he types, automatically few suggestions will become, all right? So those suggestions are in a form of a list, because it is a one suggestion, it could be two suggestions, it could be a number of suggestions. It depends upon the database entries, right? So user will get a number of suggestions, right? So basically once the user will click type on this search box, some function will be called automatically at the back end, and what that function will be do, that function will query the database, alright? So let me implement that function first. So if I go to the routers, so this is not a our web path. So once the user will enter, automatically the suggestion will become, but our page will remain the same, alright? So it is not a new path. So that's why we are not putting into the web apps folder, but we are putting into the routers folder, alright? And let's put in the items.py file and give something like router dot get. So when I click when some user will try to type into this, some function will be called at the back end, right? So let's give some path to that function. Just ignore this for the time being, so or just leave that. So some function will be called so def, let's suppose the function will be autocomplete. So this function will be called and it will perform something, right? Okay, but what it will perform, so it will first take the argument which the user has typed here, right? So it will take the argument which the user has been typed. So and that could be optional, because maybe the user doesn't type anything, right? So that could be optional, and it could be of type string, all right? So now whatever the user will be type here, we have to search that entry into the database. So we are searching on the basis of title, so we have to search into the database. So we need the database as well. So session depends upon getDB, alright? So what we want all the items first, because it will search on the basis of a because if I search 3, then it give me this item. So it search on the basis of title only. So wherever 3 found in the title, it display me only that item. So similarly it should display me only those characters, only those suggestion which holds that particular world, right? So terms is equal to db dot query on to the items table, right? then filter by title, items dot title dot contains. So if it contains the query like parameter, or you can say whatever the user will be type here. So we are typing the term, so some term here, term, all right, and it should fetch everything. So it will fetch all the items, right? So let's create a list of suggestions, because as I told you, like once the user will type here something, so a drop down list will be like automatically shown here, right? So it could be a list, output will be list, right? So we have to loop for item in items, because this items will return everything like a title, description, and everything it will return, but we don't want like description, we just want the title, right? So for item in items, because like we have typed this here, so we want all the title suggestions, not the description, not any other thing. But this will return to us a list of all the like item, description, date posted, owner ID, everything, and ID as well. But we don't need all these things, we only need the title suggestions here. So for item in items, so let append our list and item dot title, item dot title, right, and return title. That's it. So our function is like completed here, all right? So but how this function will be called, we have just created a function, but this box doesn't know like how I call this function, right? So only we have created this function, so our backend code is like almost ready. So no, return should be suggestions. So suggestion is a list, so whatever the user will be type, we will get the list here. Okay, so let me save it. I will like or let me keep it open, let me open the another file. And one more thing, sorry, I forget. So we are here using optional, so we have to import that as well. So from typing we are importing list, but we will also import optional. Okay, so let me open that other page as well. So now what we want, whatever the user will type here, so we want that particular keyword and we want to perform some function as soon as like the user will type here, right? So we don't want to like some click on any button or anything, we want as soon as user will type, automatically the suggestion will become, all right? So we need the concept of the JavaScripts, all right? So we will go to the templates. Basically we need the like jQuery, so go to the nano base.html. So here like we are using the bootstrap css, bootstrap cdn. So to use the jQuery, we have to first use the jQuery cdns. So you can just google it and type jQuery cdn, and you will like go to the w3 school. So you will found like this cdn min.js, right? So it is 3.5.1 version, so you can use any version. So you can just one is the like Google. I have like those CDNs. And why we need those? jQuery CDN, it is provided by the jQuery. So the Google APIs will be provided by the Google query, the Google company, but this is provided by the jQuery. So we can use any. So this is like 3.6.0 version. We have to use the min.js. So there are many versions, min, slimmed. So we have to use the min version. So let me add that as well. So let me put some comment. jQuery, right? So let me paste it. Okay, we need one more. Okay, so let me paste it as well. Okay, so I have pasted it. So these are the the inbuilt jQuery, but I want to call my own function, right? So there is a inbuilt function of the jQuery, that is the autocomplete. Autocomplete is a inbuilt function within the jQuery, and this function is available in this JavaScript module. So that's why we have imported these two libraries. But what this function will do, we have to change the override behavior. So this function will actually perform this task which we have written. So this function, this autocomplete function should get the result from our database, from our query. So it should call this autocomplete function, right? So what we have to do is, so we have use this. So we have to write our own JavaScript code. All right, so we have to write our own JavaScript code. So go to the static folder. So we have only images folder. Let's create one more folder, JS. So route to the JS folder, and within the JS let's create one file, autocomplete.js. So I have created one file. So now Google it. Just go to the Google and find Jquery Autocomplete. Alright, so 3 tutorials. Roll it down. So they let me copy full. Ignore this. This is just a value. We want our own values, which so what could be any path. So let's suppose autocomplete. So source could be any path. So that's why we have to wrap our function in some path, at the rate router dot get item slash autocomplete. Okay, so we have to wrap our function. So now once this JavaScript will be called, it will check this source, item slash autocomplete. It will find a function at this path. And what is this path? So this path have our this inbuilt function. So this function will return this list. So now it will show us to this list. So Java query, it start with the dollar symbol only. So okay, so that is fine. But how? So okay, let me first save it. So we have created this autocomplete .js, but we have to use this as well. So we have to include this as well. So source equal to URL for static, give path is equal to js slash autocomplete.js. okay, so Let's close the script tag. So now we have included this as well, but still how? So let me close this 1 minute. But this input box knows that I have to call that particular JavaScript function, right? So this doesn't know like that I have to call the JavaScript function, right? So if we, so let me first save it, and if I open navbar.html, so let me go to the input box. So this is the input box. So this doesn't know that when some user will type anything, so it should have to call that particular function. So let me give some ID here. So ID is equal to autocomplete, right? So why I give the ID as a autocomplete? Because if you open this auto complete, so I am calling the jQuery, or you can say one script, and script should be called on this ID autocomplete, and autocomplete is automatically referring our this input box. So as soon as the user will start typing into this box autocomplete ID, automatically at the back end our jQuery will be called. So and it will go to this URL /item/autocomplete, and it will called this function. All right, so let me save it. Let me save it and let me save it. But right now it will not work. It has some issue, but we will fix those issue later on. So our application has been started. So if I go to the home page, and if I refresh it, right? So I have refreshed it. Now if I type something here, item, I am not getting the suggestion, right? So we have to first debug it. So let's go to the inspect, go to the console. Okay, so it is saying this autocomplete is not a function, right? So they are saying that autocomplete is not a function, so it is unable to find this function. Okay, so 1 minute. So as soon as the browser will be load, so that particular a Java query will be called. So autocomplete is not a function. Okay, so let's see. Was see automatically it is being called statics js autocomplete.js. so we have to go here okay, here spelling is wrong, autocomplete. So let me save it, and now let me refresh the page. Okay, now I am not getting any error. So let me try to, okay, still I am getting still I am getting the errors. Autocomplete is not a function. Okay, so let me check. Function is equal to autocomplete dot autocomplete, source is equal to item /autocomplete. That is perfectly okay. Spelling is also okay, autocomplete. So this looks okay. So let me check my navbar.html. Here I give the ID as well, autocomplete, and this is okay because I gave this ID, and that's why this JavaScript is being called static js autocomplete.js, because now it is 200. okay, earlier 30 not modified. So because if I did not give the ID, so let me remove that first. If I remove this and save it, and let me start my application again. Jovicon main app -- reload. Okay, so let me refresh the app. And okay, static js autocomplete, so automatically from the browser will try to on the load of the browser this script will be called. Static is okay, js is okay, autocomplete.js is okay, that is perfectly fine. It is saying that 304 not modified. Now I have to use that. Auto complete. Some error is coming here. Autocomplete is not a function. Why it is not a function? It is a function. I think something is wrong in our item slash autocomplete. That is perfectly okay. Nano base.html. I think something is wrong here. https code.jquery, jquery min.js, ui.js, url for static, that is also okay. We have incorporated the jQuery 3.6.0 min.js only, which is perfectly okay. We are called the ui.js as well. So is this exist? Let me check. Maybe the URL is wrong. Yeah, the Java query exists, so that is also okay. Let me check this one. So this also exists. Autocomplete. So it has the autocomplete.js. So it has autocomplete.js. So what is wrong then? Let me try to debug. Give me a few minutes. Okay, the problem is I forget to close this script tag, so that why it is giving the error into the 3.6.0. so we have to close this script tag as well. So that was the problem. So now if I try to load, so I am not getting any issue. So now let's try to search. So if I try item, right, so I am not getting the suggestion, but it is routing to this URL item slash autocomplete, and term is equal to item. So by default, what it will do, whatever I will type here now, automatically it will consider as a term. So that's why it is a term. So I am going to this URL, so that is fine, but it is saying that 422 unprocessable entry. And if I execute it, if I try to execute it, so let me 1 minute, right? So it is giving me the error, and the reason for this error is so let me copy it, and if I try to execute it, term, so it is giving me that the value is not a valid integer, though we are not passing the integer. Why this is wrong? Because if you remember, I told you FastAPI try to search all the route step by step. So first it will try to search slash item. Now it will search, okay, slash item. We have the slash item slash autocomplete, but it is slash item, so this is not the route. So now it will go to the slash item slash all, so this is also not the route. Now it is going to search slash item slash id. So after that it is expecting id, that is the integer, but we are giving autocomplete, which is which is a string. So we have to cut this code, right, and we have to paste on above of id, right. So now if I save it, right, so now it will like return me the list, right. So now let me refresh it, and if I now try to search the item, any item, so automatically you could see the suggestions. So let me close it. So if I try to search anything, so I tried item, I am getting the item 4 and the dummy item as a like suggestions, but this is not a good suggestion, right. So we are unnecessarily getting dots, so that's why we have the third library, that is the Jquery Css library, which will like show the suggestion in a good format. So we have to include that as well. So we have to include this as well. So we have to Jquery Css, just include this and save it. Now refresh it, and now try to search item. Now I am getting a very good UI. So item 1, item 2, item 3, right. So I am getting a very good UI. If I try dummy, I am getting the suggestion. So all the suggestion I am getting from the database, right. So that's the end of this video. So why we include this UI? Because if we not include the Jquery UI dot, what is the function of CSS? So CSS is generally just to make a UI like much more like a good. So if we not use the Jquery CSS, then by default we are getting some very like not a good suggestions, right. So that's why we have to include the Jquery UI.css, and for this we have to use the autocomplete function. So we are using the autocomplete function. So where we are using, so we are using the dot autocomplete. So autocomplete is the inbuilt function, right, and we are calling this function on this id, that is the hash autocomplete. And what is, so we have like represented id using the hash only. So we are calling this function like on this id, like autocomplete. And what is autocomplete? Autocomplete is the id for our this like input box, but we have to override our autocomplete behavior. So what this autocomplete will do? So autocomplete will do this thing, that is it will go to the /item/autocomplete URL, and it will perform some function, and then we have define our function. So it will go to the /item/autocomplete URL, and it will like define our function. So what we have to define? We have to like fetch all the suggestions. We have to first accept whatever the user is being and like entered here. So we have to accept that suggestions, right. So all the and then we have to like make a list and just append the title only, and then return the list. So here we will get a list. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. So we have implemented this functionality as well. So that's the end of the video. Thank you.